Yeah, I'm hunched over a bit, and
dude.
but as I'm climaxing, I'm dead. I die. So I die while I come.
Wait, dude,
And
I got
the
an
cum
idea.
that's coming out of me is my ghost.
Oh, dude.
And I'm
Nice. I was
ghost
thinking-
cum, and I'm flying away.
I was thinking.
Let's kick this week off with a little listener mail.
Yeah, let's do it. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, Lo, hit me with it.
Read it up.
Hey, I think you're interesting and you make me smile and laugh. I recently went through a psychosis and I have a deep depression right now.
Oh no.
Oh.
But you made me feel a bit lighter and happier. You made me think in another direction. Thanks for that. And my wish when I die is to be cremated and someone to paint a painting of me with my ashes, because why the hell not? It just feels fun. Something to give to the family. Thanks.
Dude, hell yeah.
That's dope.
I love
as
that
somebody
idea.
who's been like really into art lately, like I now want that.
That would be so cool to commission an artist to create a painting with your ashes. That's like something, I don't know. I mean, obviously whoever, like leave like 3 bullet points of instructions for something that.
What would you want it? What if you had to have?
What would be your painting?
Yeah. What would be if you had to have your ashes painted into something? What would it be?
I don't know. Something very trippy and abstract mostly because I wouldn't want it to be
A self-portrait.
I wouldn't want it to be
Or
a portrait.
I guess it wouldn't be a self.
Because that's like
portrait
that's
you'd be
because when you're doing something like that's really creative, using your ashes as like painting like material. So I feel like doing a self-portrait is like a little bit, I don't know, it doesn't do it justice. So you kind of got to go, I would want it to be something kind of abstract that could change over time for somebody in terms of like what it sort of means, so that I'm not, like ingrained in it in this very like obvious way, but something that can like transform.
Is there a vibe
and
that
adapt
you would
over
want
time.
though? Like, is there a specific vibe to the abstractedness of it? Like,
I
you
don't
would
know.
want it to like say something, like give off a specific feeling.
Yeah.
Very-
Yeah, like, do you know John Lurie, that
No.
artist?
No.
I don't know if we're allowed to do this, but just in post, if you can drop a John Lurie photo right now, painting right now. John Lurie is like super like abstract art, but it's like it kind of makes you feel a bit weird, like, and it's like beautiful watercolor, but like also a bit eerie, and
Because I really like although I
I
don't
guess
have
it's abstract. I don't know.
I am artistic, but not in the sense that people associate, I think, like artisticness with. Like when you think of being artistic,
Did you say
I think
autistic? You're autistic?
artistically.
Oh, artistic. That's right.
I think people associate artism with I think people associate artism with like painting and photography and that sort of thing. And I was listening to this podcast yesterday on a bike ride, and when you get out, whenever I'm riding and I'm on like a very straight stretch of, not a straight stretch of road, but like a road where I'm not really turning. There's no stop signs. There's no lights. I'm like really out there in rural areas.
You just close your eyes, which is exactly why you
I might as well close my eyes, because when I'm listening to a podcast or music, I am like in the conversation. I'm in the music, and I'm not really. You ever realize that when you're driving, especially when Brian, you've done a fuckload of long road trips over the past few years and a lot of driving, when you realize that you don't really remember the last 5 minutes of driving.
Yeah.
And you go,
like,
wow,
was
that's
that
scary.
dangerous?
I feel,
Yeah.
anyway, I was listening to this podcast and I was very much in the zone, and it was, who Brad Wiggins is. It was Brad Wiggins, and he was talking about,
Cyclists.
about painting and getting into art after his cycling career. And he was describing art in this way that I was like, oh my God, I really connect with that. He was just talking about like, art is just like, art is really just like this physical expression of emotions. And like, if somebody wants your art or likes your art, they're really just intrigued by your emotions and the way that you in the way that manifests physically.
It's so weird because it's like it's the breaking of rules in a rule-based society that has its own set of rules. Like if that makes sense. Like art is so interesting because there are types of arts and types of art and styles of art, and there are sort of like these loose rules into which those forms of art live. But at the same time, the creative, the pieces that stand out are the ones that like work within those boundaries, but find a way to break them at the same time.
What would your death art be?
So I was thinking about
Taylor can't explain what his is. It's abstract.
I would
so
want
we don't know
mine-
what that means. It's just a bunch of smattering of color.
It's very colorful. It's very trippy
It's
and
just a
colorful.
clown sneeze.
I would want
onto
mine,
white paper.
I would
and that's
want
what
mine.
Taylor's-
I would want mine to be Beeple-esque, but
Right.
and the reason why is because like obviously Beeple's really trendy right now because of NFTs and everything. But
Dude, I've been
but-
following people way
but
before.
I know
Beeple
you're the
got
first.
cool.
You're the first person to introduce me to Beeple,
Yeah.
actually, and
His shit's
when you
weird.
shared me his Instagram, and the reason
Very weird.
why is because the reason why I would want my piece of art that's painted with my ashes to look like that is because think of all of like the portraits from the past that are like these very like stoic,
Yeah.
like sort of boring images to look at in a lot of ways. Like they might be like well constructed and like well painted, but like at the same time, they're not really like you don't look at that and go, "What the fuck was going on there?"
That's
a lot of
why
cases.
I've always been a bit like confused about the Mona Lisa, and like because
I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Yeah.
like I look at the Mona Lisa and I go, okay, like that's not like I don't look at that and go,
but
wow.
here I'll give
Yeah,
you.
but there's
Yeah.
something attached to the name of the person and how old it is and the time
guess
in
but
which
it's
that
not
person
even.
lived.
It's not even that
guess
because
so, yeah.
because Van Gogh. It was the Mona Lisa.
Not
no,
Van
not
Gogh's
Van
not the
Gogh,
Mona Lisa.
Da Vinci.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Da Vinci.
Yes.
So there's this book that I'm reading right now called The Iconist, written by Jamie Mustard, and he's talking about why iconic paintings have become popular, and it's sort of because of the simplicity of them.
Yeah.
Because those artists that paint like Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, like that is a very simple painting relative to a lot of the other work that he did. And so
Right.
it's the simplicity of it that makes it stand out and that makes it become this like monolith over time. And he was another great example that he gave in a different world is it Beethoven? I'm thinking of, is it the dun 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 like that?
Yeah.
Like when you think of that sound, it's not like the rest of his work was very intricate and like detailed and like very, very, very impressive. But like the ones that stand out are actually just very simple in their form. So it's interesting to think of that because it's like, it's sort of like the beauty and the simplicity that makes it what it is.
So what
but
would
it's
be
still
your
boring.
what would be your simple final art piece? Ashes in the paint, like our friend here who wrote us.
Well, I unlike Taylor, I've got a bit of an ego, and I'd want my piece to stand out and represent me a little bit more. So I'd want it to be like my naked body, except instead of like a dick, I have like a third arm, like stretching out, like holding up this like
Dude, this
weird,
is really
like-
funny because I was
Third
thinking about
arm.
what
this
mine
like
would be.
weird fucking gem or something that's floating in like neon colors.
Mine was a self portrait of me, a massive self portrait of me masturbating, and as I'm coming,
Do you have a back hunch?
as I'm I'm hunched over a bit, and
Oh, dude.
but as I'm climaxing in the painting, I'm dead. I die. So I die while I come.
Wait, dude, I
And
got
the
an
cum
idea.
that's coming out of me is
You mean the seminal fluid?
the seminal fluid that's coming out of me in
Just
the
Jared
in the
doesn't
painting is my ghost.
Oh, dude.
And I'm
Oh, wow.
woo,
I was
ghost
thinking-
come and I'm flying away.
I was thinking instead of your ghost, it could be like this very like detailed mosaic of all the people that you met in your life that meant something to you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say a detailed mosaic of all the people you fucked.
Hey, those are all the people that I met and meant something to me.
That's really funny. Well, you know what? I really appreciate. I hope that your depression and psychosis is completely cured now because of the conversation that your
It's
your
as
letter
easy
to
as
us
that,
has it's provoked this hilarious conversation.
Well,
And if there's any other listeners out there who enjoy drawing, we love seeing your pictures as well. So
yeah,
feel
so
free
please
to
draw a
draw that,
self-portrait
yeah.
of me coming to death with my ghost coming.
I want to see a picture of Jeremy coming out, and Taylor and I
and
are
hopefully
in the shape of the cum.
this made you cheer up because everybody knows that if you've got depression, all you need to do is
Come.
cheer up.
Turn
Just
that
gotta-
frown
just gotta
upside
cheer up.
down. That's right. Actually, you know what will turn any frown upside down? We've talked about this on the show before. It was a long time ago. But we have talked at length about like the ways that you can, like our friend here who wrote us, the ways that you can dispose of your remains. So, you know, like I've talked on the show about, and we've talked to it with Caitlin Dowdy about things like Tibetan sky burials or
Becoming a tree.
yeah, you can get planted as a
Which
tree.
is pretty lame, just saying.
That's what you want to do.
I know, that's why I'm saying it's lame.
Before anyone else can.
I mean, what's lame is just getting put in a box and
It's called a
You know,
prophylactic.
underground. You can get cremated. There's all these things, but this one kind of I think kind of blows all that shit out of the water. So do you guys know what this is right here?
That's
a
a
bullet.
glass dildo.
That is a glass dildo. And this company have created an urn that you can put your loved one's ashes into as a dildo. And we talked about this at a live show in Vancouver a while ago.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
it's a sex toy. So sex toys come in all shapes and sizes. This is coming from Mashable. But Netherlands-based designer Mark Strookboom is bringing his sex toy to a whole new level of weird. Hey, don't yuck someone's yum. All right.
Yeah, I was
the
going to say
device.
it's not really that weird, is it?
The device called. I love this name.
I'd say it's pretty objectively weird.
I think it's subjectively
I think
weird.
it's
if anything.
subjectively weird. Yeah.
I think it's objectively weird, but you are associating a negative connotation to the word weird.
No.
I'm going to disagree. The device called 21 grams is a memory box that allows a widow
Oh no.
to go back to the intimate memories of a lost beloved one. That's in a quote. According to Struckenboom's website.
Or the lost beloved ones going into them.
It's just that this memory box happens to be inside a dildo. The glass urn allows you to place your loved one's ashes inside, 21 grams of ashes to be precise. And it's quite a piece of art. It comes in this beautiful little carrying case with a lock and key.
Is that a carrying case? Like
It looks
are
like
you
a
really-
cooler.
Are you carrying it around with you?
It is. It's pretty intense. I believe it also doubles. So you see here, it also doubles as like a, you probably
yeah.
put your makeup in there.
A display box.
It looks like you could sit down in there and use the dildo.
Wait, that looks like a perfume bottle on the right hand side. Like it looks
Yeah.
like a squeezy.
I believe, yeah, it is. It's something to do with,
It is really
Freshening.
beautiful.
yes.
Freshening the dildo.
It says here, Struckenboom is serious about how this object should be used. He suggests bringing nostalgic moments into the act, like your lover's perfume and their favorite music, which will open, quote, a window to go back to moments of love and intimacy.
It would probably be pretty beautiful.
The case has a
Actually
scent
think of
diffuser and also functions as an amplifier. You can place your iPhone inside and let music play through the forget-me-not flowers on the sides of the box. The
I
box
thought those
has
look like speakers.
the box has a lock, so no one else can sleep with your dead lover's ashes, of course. It just so happens that 21 grams is popularly and erroneously thought of as the weight of the soul when it leaves the body on death. There was actually a movie called 21 Grams, and I think that's where the title of the movie comes from.
Do you know where it, like originally
thought it was a
that
drug
concept
reference.
comes from though?
isn't it something about breath? Like you lose 21 grams of weight upon death or something like that?
You're close. So I'm reading that in 1901, an American doctor named Duncan McDougall determined that the soul weighed 21 grams by weighing elderly people immediately before and after they died from tuberculosis.
God. Oh, wow.
Right. So he would take the weight and they would.
It's nice.
They'd weigh 21 grams less after they've died, which is like, it's probably, I mean, I don't know, just like
21 grams is a very, very small amount.
yeah.
of weight.
So like
An almost imperceivable.
like
amount.
like put a bunch of oxygen in a body. Would that like bring you up? To
Oxygen
21
would
grams?
probably weigh more than.
Makes
21
me feel
grams,
like
I
21
imagine.
Savage is a more meaningful rap name now.
500 grams is a pound ish, a little bit more than a pound.
Right. Okay. According to Metro, Boom dreamed up the sex toy after noticing that an old woman that he assists with her groceries kept an urn containing the remains of her late husband. He felt that it did not reflect the way she spoke so lovingly about him. So he was like, I'm going to make a thing and you can shove him right up.
Well,
into
she
your
was probably telling him like erotic stories.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yo, what do you guys
carrying
think
her
she
groceries
said?
and she's like, oh, I do miss Duncan. I just miss the way he would fill me up.
He's
She
like,
actually
why are
meant-
you only buying carrots and zucchini and eggplants? What's up?
She
Let
actually
me
meant,
help you.
She actually meant fill me up with joy, and he just like read between the lines and was like, "Oh shit."
You know,
And
there
it was
is.
just
I
a
mean,
total misunderstanding.
It is really sweet though. He goes on to say, "quote In that same period, I read an article about widows, taboos, and sex and intimacy, and then thought to myself, can I combine these themes to make an object that is about love and missing, and missing intimacy?" I mean, it is very beautiful, but the one photo I gotta say, this photo also goes along with the article, and I love it so much because
Oh my God.
this photo.
Is
I
that
don't know
woman?
if you guys noticed this, but
Like,
like,
it feels like it's
that-
in a church.
it does it not feel like it's at the fucking funeral?
Feels very.
Yeah,
It feels.
it
I'm
does.
Like
getting.
it feels
I'm getting,
like
she's all
it's
in
at
white.
the wake. It's at the wake. It's
Yeah.
at the wake. I
Do
mean,
you wear white at a wake?
No, I don't think so.
Feels like it's in a
I'm
church.
getting strong pew vibes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Forgive me, Daddy, for I have sinned. and the priest says again,
No.
I'm gonna have to implore you not to call
Jared,
me Daddy, it's
Jared,
father.
I can't lie. I am very intrigued by how, on your thoughts of how this doesn't fall into the category of weird.
I don't think it's weird. I mean, okay. Here's the thing. I understand that, it's no fault of your own, Taylor. It's because of your upbringing, and all that stuff. But like, sex isn't weird. Like, sex isn't a bad thing, Taylor. It's okay. Like, sex is an okay thing. It's not bad. It's
Masturbation
not
is
weird.
weird.
You don't go blind if you masturbate. None of that stuff is true, right? I don't think it's weird. I think it is. I see why someone would state this as weird. But I mean,
But then what is weird if that's not weird? Because weird is really just something that very few people have thought of doing before and strikes you as odd because of the lack of popularity around any given activity or process. I don't think
Are there
I think
multiple definitions to weird?
I think
like,
weird is
there definitely
misunderstood.
are.
I
There
think
definitely
weird is maybe misunderstood as a negative thing. I mean it
You're
as
saying
weird
weird-
as in like
unusual.
very unusual. I mean,
Mhm.
because if it wasn't weird, would we talk about it? Because if it
Yeah.
was normal and something that we were
good point.
That is a good point in the argument.
That's a good point.
I would say that before so you mentioned that we did talk about this before in Vancouver, and when I think about this, and even when I thought about it today when you first brought it up, I thought, oh man, that's sort of like kinky, or like that's sort of like I couldn't imagine doing that. But then when you talk about it,
Oh, that's
you kind of
definitely
like,
kinky.
it's definitely kinky.
That's just
Yeah.
definitely kinky.
Yeah,
You're
no,
dead. I'm gonna take your body, burn it, put it into a bunch of ashes, take that,
No, when
fill
you say
my
it like that, it's
vibrator,
weird.
and fuck myself with it.
But it's
I'm gonna
actually,
put more of you in me than you have ever been
Now,
in me.
if you don't
when
think
you're dead.
if you don't
Wait,
think that that's
more?
weird
Now,
after
here.
what you
Now,
just
now,
said,
Now, hold on. Let me say this. And we're boiling it down to semantics. I looked up the definition of weird, of strange or extraordinary character, which I don't think is so far off from this, but synonym here is odd. Okay, I think it's odd, And odd is goes on to be defined as differing markedly from the usual, ordinary, or accepted. I think for sure this is more odd than when I hear weird. I don't go, no, I don't think it's weird. But I do. I would if you said it's odd, I go, yeah, it is. But
before
odd.
I would have said this is kinky. This is very kinky. Now I would say this is beautiful.
Well, kink and beauty are not. I'm
not saying that. I'm not saying that either one of them were exclusive. Were
Don't
had
kink
to
shame,
live
Brian.
had to live on their own.
Yeah, kink,
I'm just saying
kink can be beautiful.
Hey, listen. I learned this.
Fucking monster.
I learned this the other day in therapy. Is that there's you can feel many different feelings towards one thing.
What isn't beautiful about this? You fuck.
I think that's beautiful. I bought it for
What
you.
isn't beautiful about
Where
this?
did that come from? I haven't even seen that there.
I bought that for you. And let me clarify what I was saying, because
on for the rest of the recording.
my therapist said that you can feel many different feelings at the same time, and that's okay. There might be one feeling that rises above the other. So just because I would feel that this is kinky first doesn't mean that I don't think it's also beautiful. It's just that that's the initial reaction that I have. And what I would say now is that I see this as being beautiful first, because it is. Oh my God, what are we doing? If you're not watching the podcast on YouTube right
you're
now,
missing out.
You need to be.
you should see Daddy put his mask on.
Just for this.
Because Daddy just became Leather Daddy. And you don't want to not know what Leather Daddy looks like.
The viewers are leaving.
You are so frightening.
You are. The way that your beard hair just sort of like
The way your
tickles
nose sticks
through
out.
Do
I
you
just
want me
want
to
to
tie you
bop
up,
you on
Daddy?
it.
Can someone explain what it is that I'm wearing so that our listeners can at least?
Jer is wearing a leather mask that has several points of clip-on like nodes and metal clip-on nodes on it, so that you can attach an attachment that turns it from a regular leather kink daddy mask into a doggy kink daddy mask.
It's a good pup.
So that you can be a good pup.
Mhm.
And it's got a bunch of lace up. It's got a lace up like laces
Ties
on
in
the
the
back,
back, yeah.
ties on the back. It's got a collar that he's now doing up, which has several notches. Obviously, the leather is accented with
Do you want me to tie you up?
silver or metal trim.
It's going to be
and-
really hard to continue the podcast like this.
Is it hot under there?
If you loosen
already
the collar, you won't choke. You won't be
can't
choking
breathe.
as much.
The interesting thing is that this is, for anybody who's been watching, this has been on the shelf the entire time, but
No one
maybe
noticed.
nobody knows it. And I think that this will be the last time we ever mention that.
Jared,
it is
I don't
there.
think that I can do the show with you wearing that, because
I definitely can't
I
take
am
you seriously.
way too hard. And this is inappropriate because we do this on YouTube now, and I can't have people seeing the
Like,
visual.
what makes you more
need to-
hard, Taylor? Is it like a narb on an airplane, or is it just Jared in a leather daddy mask?
Yeah, I'm as hard now as I am when I wake up from a nap on an airplane.
Oh,
That was giving me claustrophobia.
I'm
I gotta
glad
take
that you
off.
took it off.
That was short-lived.
So, yeah, it's weird.
I'm glad we could come to that conclusion.
Hey, speaking of
but
fucking,
do you agree that it is that you see it more in a more beautiful light now than?
oh, I
you
think
did
it's
before?
definitely beautiful. I think if someone's grandma was like, I'm gonna do this, first of all, I'd be like, that's amazing that you are like, I'm so glad that someone of that. Well, I mean, that's me assuming that someone's old that's doing this. Like, dude, this could be for someone whose partner dies in their 30s.
This could be for
Doesn't have to
could
be for old
me.
people. Although, you know what, this lady is old. Like, this is those are some old hands. Those are grandma hands.
No, they're not that old.
Those are
I'm
grandma
guessing-
hands. Those are grandma stockings. That is a grandma's skirt.
Yeah, this is true.
Those are grandma
but
shoes.
the hands do look
I'd
not
I'd
crazy
peg her
old.
at about 65.
You'd peg her?
I'd peg
He
her
means
at
he'd be
65.
pegged by her with the dildo.
But I do think it's beautiful. I think it would be, you know. I think
But
it's
like
very sweet.
initially, if somebody said to me before, "Hey, how about this? You die, ashes in a dildo. Then I would be like, I don't know, sounds kind of kinky. And now, after having you read this article to me,
Just
I'm
be
like,
hilarious.
sounds beautiful.
Yeah, I like it. Speaking of kinky, beautiful, and weird, let's switch gears into something that's actually quite the opposite of all of that. This is a really fucked up article, and a little bit more of like a serious talk here. Even though we're going to be talking about sperm and shrinking penises. This is from The Guardian. This is actually an article from Aaron Brockovich, the one and only.
The one and only Aaron Brockovich,
Aaron Brockovich.
which is who Aaron Brockovich, for everybody who doesn't know, is Julia Roberts' alias.
No, if you don't know who Aaron Brockovich is, get your life.
Yeah.
This is from last week. This article. The title is "Plummeting Sperm Counts, Shrinking Penises. Toxic Chemicals Threaten Humanity." The chemicals to blame for our reproductive crisis are found everywhere and in everything. So this is an article basically about this huge problem that is chemicals being found in our bodies. And some of these chemicals coming from like unknown sources.
I feel like the headline of this article really should have been Gen Z tiny PP ?
It was a
Gen Z tiny PP.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
a good title.
a good
It was
alliteration
a it's a. I mean, it is a startling. I mean, I remember from the article, it's like something like men would have 50% of the sperm today than their grandfather would have. Women 25-year-old women are less fertile than their 35-year-old grandmother was.
Let me get into it here. So the end of basically, Aaron Brockovich is like calling for, there's a fucking crisis. She's going, the end of mankind. It may be coming sooner than we think, thanks to hormone disrupting chemicals that are decimating fertility at an alarming rate around the globe. So she's basically sourcing this book called Countdown by Shauna Swan, an environmental and reproductive epidemiologist at Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai.
I think it's named after Carl Icahn, who's a famous investor.
Mount Sinai in New York, finds that sperm counts have dropped almost 60% since 1973.
Dude.
Following the trajectory we are on, Swan's research suggests sperm counts could reach 0 by 2045.
Whoa.
0. Let that sink in. That would mean no babies, no reproduction, no more humans. And then she goes on to say, forgive me for asking, why isn't the UN calling an emergency meeting on this right now? And if you haven't seen the movie Children of Men, unbelievable film.
I thought you were going to say Greenland.
No, but also pretty fun movie. It's surprisingly fun.
More appropriate, Children of Men.
Children of Men is a film basically that takes place in the near future. And it is about this like near future dystopia where exactly this. There's humans
but further on.
Well, further on, because it basically the movie takes place in a future where humans have lost the ability to reproduce, and at the time the movie takes place, the youngest person on the planet is like is 18 years old, 18 years and like 12 days and 25 minutes old.
So like 18 years since the last
18 years since the last human has been born.
I know I'm stuck on the movie analogies, but this is sounding a little bit more like Mad Max.
This is a movie.
It's a movie that is setting up for Mad Max.
We don't need an analogy. We don't need a movie analogy for a movie.
So Aaron Brockovich in this article, she goes on to say basically the chemicals to blame for this crisis are found in everything from plastic containers and food wrapping to waterproof clothes and fragrances and cleaning products, to soaps and shampoos, to electronics and carpeting. Literally fucking everywhere, these chemicals, which they are thinking is playing a big role in this decline in sperm count, are fucking everywhere. They're called PFAs, also known as forever chemicals.
Isn't it crazy to think about how many of those like objects are around us right now,
Dude.
like the
Well,
microphones in
but
our faces.
she's basically
water bottles.
saying in this article that
It's unavoidable.
probably everything in this fucking room has been manufactured with that, and that's why it's such a global problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like a type of plastic. Like it's an umbrella. Like the term PFA is like it's a type of, it's like an umbrella for a bunch of different chemicals. And what's like really sneaky about these chemicals is that you'll see things advertised like this bottle doesn't contain PFAs, but it contains another really similar chemical that has the same effect. When it's like technically not PFAs or technically not this, so they're legally, they can say that, but it still has the same effect.
And there's certain I've noticed there is and I think she might mention it in the article, something about like certain regions that do flag things that are produced with these materials. And I think it's in Colorado, and there's an online retailer that I buy bike stuff from. And there are certain items that when you're on the page for that, whatever that item is, it has a little like rectangle exclamation point, like yellow sign. And it says, this product contains blah, 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 which, we're required by, proposition, whatever it is, to disclose that like it has, I think they say it's a carcinogen or something like that. But, so like there are places that say, hey, they're like these items are manufactured with this thing, but like if everything is manufactured with it, like
It's crazy. Like, is it just like even this plastic bottle that
Yeah.
I'm holding in my hands, like
100%.
but like just like holding it here in front of me, or like
So
breathing
yeah,
in the air around it? Like,
they don't break down in the environment or the human body. They just accumulate and accumulate, doing more and more damage minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. And now it seems that humanity is reaching a breaking point. So Swan, in her book, she goes on to say some even more fucking wild stuff, which you were kind of alluding to earlier, Taylor. In some parts of the world, the average 20-something woman today is less fertile than her grandmother was at 35.
which just for context, 35, like if you're all
you're
trying
dried
to,
up.
if you're trying to have a kid, if you're trying to have a kid at 35, like for fertility things, like 35 is the age where fertility clinics are like, now things are different.
Yeah.
Like past 35, like that. I mean, obviously it's all based on statistics, but like they draw the line at 35 and say like, this is how we would treat you like up to 34. And then this is how we would treat you after 35.
Yeah, I think they call it a geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
right.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
Which sounds so
It
drastic.
sounds so sad.
Yeah, it's
Why?
like, oh, I'm 35 though, but yeah, you're geriatric and you're hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Um,
And so 20 something,
20-somethings less fertile than a
Which is-
geriatric pregnancy.
which is fucking crazy, because at the same time as women are generally less fertile in their 20s, people are also having children later.
Yes,
So
exactly.
like that, which is, because of a whole bunch of different reasons, like, like
societal, cultural,
cultural things.
Yeah.
And so those two things together
Mhm.
are probably driving down. Look, we were watching that Vox Borders episode today, and he was saying in Japan, this is like from 2 or 3 years ago, that in Japan, the fertility rate is such that the population is in decline.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even here in Canada, I think Newfoundland is the government is starting to pay for IVF treatments because the demographic situation in that province is so
Whoa.
dire.
Sorry, in what province? Sorry,
Newfoundland.
it's
they
so-
pay for it in Toronto for your first, or in Ontario.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's crazy because
ain't cheap.
if you think
No,
about it,
it's
like
not.
so
Yeah.
even using the word fertile, if you think of like a woman's ability to reproduce as like land that is fertile, and you think of if we were entering a crisis where like all of the land where we traditionally plant fruits and vegetables and our food, if that was like all of a sudden going barren, like the urgency at which we would
Yeah,
think
well,
that-
I mean, like
this
I mean, to
Swan-
some extent, because
Swan-
like there is like climate change
And
that is
Swan
Yeah,
is-
that's what I was
not
gonna
being-
say. I was gonna say,
but-
well, climate change, like
Yeah.
we're literally destroying the planet
and
and
this
doing
is
nothing about
this is
it.
what
You're
Swan goes
fucking
on to
right. Yeah,
say.
you're right, you're right.
She's like shouting from the rooftops here that this is a global existential crisis. Not only does the research that she's done find that the chemicals are drastically reducing semen quality, but they're also shrinking penis size and volume of the testes.
Okay. No. Nope. That's it.
Now, you know what's really funny?
No more PFASs.
I know you're joking. I know you're joking.
I thought you were gonna pull out your
But-
dick and just check to see if it was still there.
Yeah, I know you're joking, but
That's where I draw the line.
kind of surprising that like that stat hasn't like just put a fucking fire under the asses of the lawmakers and the people that are like, you know, can actually make change. To hear-
Especially because they're men. for
yeah,
the most
that's what I'm
part.
saying. It's like this is like
Yeah.
this is the biggest fear of all old white men.
Yeah, but they don't care because
going,
it's not their dicks that are getting smaller.
My dick's
It's the s-
already stopped
It's
working.
the same. It is the same general sentiment as with climate change. It's the idea that
Not my problem.
this happens in the future where I'm not here and blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. And you have some people that care about that and that can empathize with future generations, and then you have people that can't. And that's where I think there's more people that can't than can. Generally, from a pessimistic perspective.
Mm.
Mhm.
I would love to have Shauna Swan on the podcast to talk about this because it's so fucking
Yeah.
it's so wild. Like, you know, this idea that like, can you imagine just like one day again? You got to go if you haven't watched it, go watch the movie. It's amazing. But
Greenland was it?
no, Children of Men.
It is crazy, but then at the same
Like
time,
if just sperm just stopped.
at
you
the
know?
same time, there are like, and I'm just presenting this as sort of like a devil's advocate, sort of scenario is like there are tons of things out there and tons of arguments out there that like there's way too many of us in the fucking first place.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it's true.
And that
Yeah.
the earth is the way that it is, not only because of our behaviors, but because of the
Mhm.
behavior of the number of us.
I don't disagree with that in principle, but I heard David Sinclair talking about population because he's the fella that specializes in longevity and aging, and he was saying that he believes that the population will peak at around 11 billion and then will plateau and then will fall. Mostly because of the trends in how many kids families are having nowadays and how there's a declining. So there's a number of people. So probably because of the data around this study, actually.
Well, let me
Which
read
is-
this. Between
which is one of them.
1964 and 2018, the global fertility rate fell from 5.06 births per woman to 2.4. Now, approximately half the world's countries have fertility rates below 2.1, which is the population replacement level.
Mm,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. So
That's wild.
so he was saying that like it still will probably trend up for a few more years, but at like with that data, we'll probably
There was a
start to
guy.
decline.
There was a guy on Rogan. I don't know what. I can't remember when the conversation was or what this guy's name was. I think he was a Wall Street Journal. Or sorry, not Wall Street Journal. He was a Washington Post columnist, I believe. Like one of those, like Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, New York Times, like one of those like big publications. And he had written this thing that was like the case. It was called the case for 100 billion or something like that. And he was talking all about the case that the earth can support 100 billion people. I can't remember if it was exactly 100 billion, but it was like an astronomical fucking amount of people.
Yeah.
Lauren, see if you can find the episode of Rogan. It's definitely, if you just search maybe like the 100 billion people or something like that.
The other interesting thing though is that fuck guys, we could be going to Mars. So
You know what? I just want to come back to what we were talking about there about how there's probably too many of us, and I think what I'm about to read to you right now is a perfect example as to why that can't not be true.
Sorry, why there definitely is too many of us.
100%.
I would tend to agree with that as well.
Way too many of
I was
us.
just presenting that as
I would
like
too, yeah.
If we got to the point
devil's advocate.
where there's this happening, there's too many of us. Man injects 18 doses of semen into arm to cure back pain, ends up in hospital. So moving along here,
I don't
in
really
a
see
new
what's
case
weird with
study, Irish doctors report the baffling case of a 33-year-old man who injected his own semen intravenously for a year and a half, a self-developed cure intended to treat chronic back pain. It does not appear to have worked.
Guys, we just go from 0 to 100
Dude, that's
real quick
That's
on
not
the show.
that's
don't
not
we?
weird. That's beautiful.
After reportedly injecting semen into his arm every month for 18 months, the man finally sought medical attention, but not for his arm. The patient instead complained of
balls.
severe sudden onset lower back pain, having lifted a, quote, heavy steel object 3 days beforehand. During his checkup, the doctor found a patch of red swelling on his right forearm, after which the man admitted he'd been injecting himself with his own semen using a hypodermic needle that he purchased online. This is his arm.
Wait, you have photos?
This is a photo of the arm that
Oh
he was
my.
injecting his own cum into for 18 months.
I'm going to have to agree
know what's funny?
with Taylor on this one. At first, I thought this was kinky. Now I just think it's beautiful.
It's weird about this is that when you said that, obviously my mind went to Florida. I thought this man has
I mean, it's
to be
either Florida or some
guy has to be
drunken
from-
maniac
from the
Harvard.
This
Panhandle.
has to be a Florida
he
man.
has to be a Florida man. And I figured he has to be not only from Florida, but he has to be in his 50s or 60s. I figure he has to be. And that arm looked that arm hair was way too dark and rich.
He's
to-
like
to
30,
be
you said
old.
he's
He's
33. didn't he?
33.
Yeah.
That
He's
is
a 33 Irishman.
Is this person, and I'm not saying this because I'm interested, but is this person single? Because this looks like something a person would do unsupervised.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
So
No one was giving him direction.
So this time around, when he went into the hospital, he had injected 3 doses of semen, entering both blood vessels and his muscles. Quote, this is the first reported case. This is the best. This is the fucking best.
Yeah, why? This is mine.
This is
mind
this is
boggling.
the best. Quote, this is the first reported case of semen injection for use as a medical treatment. The doctors at Adelaide and Meath Hospital in Ireland wrote in the case study. I didn't realize that case studies, right? Like I'm trying to get a bit of a habit of bringing these really odd case studies to the show every Friday. And the more deep dive I do into these case studies, which some to get the actual case study itself, there's some of these medical journal websites you have to like subscribe and pay money to. But
Hamilton Morris,
yes, that's right.
Sci Web or
That's
something
right.
like
Yeah.
that.
So one thing I'm noticing is that there is a really rich amount of humor built into some of the titles of these case studies.
No.
Oh.
I don't know if you remember the title from the one we talked about a couple of weeks ago about the blowfish and
Right, yep.
cocaine, but the
Yeah.
title of that one was pretty funny. It was something like a heavy night of blow
Oh.
fish,
Like
and then like it
blowfish
turned
and
out that he was
cocaine.
actually doing blow or whatever, something like that. But the case study of this one was titled, this is so fucking good.
This is the semen guy. The semen
This
arm
is the guy shooting semen into his arm who had back pain.
Fuck, that's crazy.
It's called Semenly Harmless Back Pain,
Stop.
an unusual presentation of subcutaneous abscess.
No.
Seemingly harmless back pain.
See, you know what? Yeah, the people. You know what? These researchers. You know what these researchers do? You know what they do? They watch YouTube.
Yeah, fuck that.
Okay?
Yeah, they
They
do.
watch YouTube. They watch YouTube, and they're looking at Philly D, and they're looking at
Hey,
Jake
dude.
Paul.
Do those articles have thumbnails?
Yeah, the one I just showed you. The swollen region grew and hardened around the area on his arm where he'd injected his semen. What a fucking silly man. And an x-ray revealed an area of trapped air beneath the man's skin.
Oh.
The doctors immediately hospitalized the patient, treating him with intravenous antimicrobial therapy. After the patient's back pain had improved, he discharged himself. The doctors performed a search of the... This is fucking brilliant. the doctors, after this fucking dude left, the doctors were like, we got to figure out, like, has this happened before? They performed a search of the medical literature and beyond, revealing not a single case of intravenous semen injection for back pain, according to the case study. This is the quote from the case study itself. Although there is a report of the effects of subcutaneous semen injection into rats and rabbits, there were no cases of intravenous semen injection into humans found across the literature. A search of more eclectic internet sites and forums found no other
Interesting use of
documentation
language.
of semen injection for back pain treatment or other uses. Attempts at intravenous and arterial injection of harmful substances such as mercury, gasoline, charcoal lighter fluid,
Oh fuck.
hydrochloric acid, and hydrocarbon
Why
are-
are people injecting
are
shit in themselves?
well described and are generally carried out in attempted suicide, as opposed to the case detailed above, in which the patient was aiming to relieve physical discomfort.
Oh my God.
After dutifully reporting the first case ever of a man injecting himself with his own semen to try to treat back pain, the authors offered a warning. It's dangerous for the untrained to perform intravenous injections on themselves, especially when they're
Guys.
injecting things that aren't supposed to be injected into veins like cum.
Guys, do you think that now that this guy has done it and somebody's written about it, that there are bound to be many more cases?
It's honestly just frustrating. Like I'm just frustrated. I'm just
100%
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, you know, it's that same thing. Like on New Year's Eve, my girlfriend took a photo of me and my buddy Rich, and it was like an Instax
like an Insta
Polaroid camera.
yeah.
And the photo comes out. And I was like, oh, let me see it. And I take the fucking little, the little Polaroid picture, and I'm holding it up and I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out what side's the side that's going to be the photo. And I flip it over, and on the back side, it just has in repeated writing on the top and on the bottom, it just says,
Do not eat.
do not put in mouth.
Oh.
And I'm like,
dude.
the
'cause you know
only
what?
reason that
Yeah.
that is fucking there is because some nincompoop was like,
You know what? I
Oh.
bet you could find the lawsuit that led to that warning being put on the back of the Polaroid.
You know what the funny thing is that
'Cause I'm sure
I
there was.
oh
guarantee-
shit, Instax don't put in mouth.
wait. Before you read that, I just want to say that I guarantee you that, like, of course, legally they need to put that on there because of what we're gonna find out about in a second. But I guarantee you that the very fact that it says "do not put it in your mouth" probably leads to many more people putting it into their mouth.
Yeah,
If
but
nobody gave them that idea in the first place.
Instax doesn't
And I know
care.
they don't care
They
about
don't
that.
care
I know
because
they don't care about
They just
that.
want to be legally protected.
I know that, but isn't it crazy that do you think that the very fact that it's there and says "do not put it in your mouth" will lead to more people putting it in
Yeah,
their mouth?
definitely. I mean,
Which
dude,
is
it even
crazy, right?
would lead me, at least on some level, to go, huh, I wonder what happens if you do put it in your mouth. I'm not gonna do it, but but if I see it says don't put it in mouth, I'll go, well, I wonder why.
Or
Like,
maybe maybe it's an indication, like if someone has like a kid, say, and the kid puts it in their mouth because they don't know any better, that would, like, if you weren't sure if it was harmful or not, then that would be a tip off that, like,
Good
oh,
point.
maybe I should call poison control or
Yeah.
something, because like I don't have a
Yeah.
child, but I do have a
Yeah.
cat, and sometimes he gets into things, and I'm like, I
Sure.
don't know if this is bad or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loki's eaten.
I mean,
Loki's had tampons. He's eaten tampons of the garbage
Oh.
before, and
big deal.
and-
Whatever.
yeah.
So have I.
I melt tampons and then inject them.
Yeah.
I when I was in high school, I was at my high school girlfriend's house. We were watching a movie, and I was like, I'm gonna run upstairs and get some Kool-Aid. It was the middle of the summer, and she was like, yeah, okay. And I ran upstairs.
Sunny Delight.
Nope, Kool-Aid specifically, because I knew her mom always had Kool-Aid made and in the fridge. And I got upstairs and I saw the Kool-Aid container, like that had the powder in it, sitting on the counter. It was green Kool-Aid container.
Mm-hmm.
And next to that on the counter, not in the fridge, was a water pitcher with green juice in it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, there's the Kool-Aid. And I
Obviously,
took it
that's
and I
Kool-Aid.
poured a big old glass.
Oh no.
And I took a huge gulp, like chugging gulp, ready to chug down
Mm,
Kool-Aid. got like 2 or 3 chugs in,
I don't even
and then
wanna know.
realized like, oh, what the fuck? This ain't.
Took you 2 or 3 chugs? Like you swallowed twice?
Think about when you're super thirsty and
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
like you just go
You're
like,
guzzling.
I'm gonna fucking guzzle a thing.
But doesn't it just hit your mouth and lips and then
But if you're guzzling, dude,
Well, here's the other thing. though.
don't say guzzle?
Yeah, here's the other
Yeah,
thing.
no,
Though.
if
It didn't
you're
have much. It
guzzling.
didn't have much flavor. What I was drinking
Oh.
sort of tasted like, I mean, water, I guess,
Oh,
but there
okay.
was a flavor.
Oh. So it wasn't like it wasn't
Oh, I wasn't drinking acid. Yeah, I didn't put fucking death juice in my mouth. I drank green juice and then
I've
it took
done that with white rum. Well, someone
I
played
know
a
what
trick
it
on
is
me when
for.
it was white rum, and I thought it was water, and that's what I'm drawing the comparison to.
Yeah, but
because
like-
as soon as it touched, as soon
No,
as
no,
it
no,
like
no.
can we
touched.
guess what
No,
it was?
it wasn't like immediate fire in my mouth. It was like I'm drinking, I'm going, wait,
Dude.
wait, what the fuck is this?
I'm guessing you were drinking that fluid that you have to drink before like getting an X-ray or something like that. Do you know what that stuff is?
That
when you
would
have
be
to, like,
interesting.
Isn't that
That'd be really
barium?
weird for that to be in
It
their
wouldn't
kitchen.
be weird. It'd be
No,
beautiful.
No, it would
not
be
weird.
First, it would be
Or
kinky,
perhaps it would
and
be
then it
odd.
weird.
Think about it. Just think about the scenario here, Bri. It's in the kitchen.
So sometimes people get that drink, like you take it home from Maddie's mom had it, and she had to take it home from the hospital, keep it in the fridge, and drink it the night before.
Is it algae?
I
like
think a
algae water?
colonoscopy, maybe.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Like a dye, basically.
Yeah, I think it is, or a dye / to
All
like
right, it
flush
wasn't
it,
that.
but-
Well,
No,
now we're
that was
itching
my
to know.
guess.
So
But anyway,
just tell us.
now
I
you
knew
guess.
immediately that
No,
it
you
wasn't
guess.
that by your
my
reaction.
guess was like algae or like seaweed infused.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good guess. So I drank it and was like, "The fuck!" And I went downstairs and I was like, "Yo, Katie, what?" I just drank
Kool-Aid.
something and it wasn't Kool-Aid. And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, it tasted weird.
Oh.
It was right next to the Kool-Aid." And she was like, I don't know. And she was like, "Mom, Jeremy drank this, what was on the counter." And Katie's mom was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh no." And she came around. She's like, "What, did you drink this? How much did you drink?" And I was like, "I don't know. I drank I drank a bit. Like I had some." And she was like, "Oh my God, I'm calling poison control." And I was going, "What's going on?" It was Miracle Grow. I drank a bunch of Miracle Grow.
No.
Wait, what's Miracle Grow?
for lawns.
It's like, yeah, it's like a fertilizer,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh, whoa.
So she calls poison control. And
yeah,
and she gets on the phone and poison and you know, Katie's mom is like, you know, she's all she's this excitable, loud woman. She's like, I have a boy here. He drank like 3 or 4 mouthfuls of Miracle Grow. And the lady's like, okay, how old is the child? And she's like, 18 or 17 or whatever the fuck it was. And the lady started laughing and she's like, what do I need to know? Like, is something going to happen? What should you do? And she goes, no, he'll be fine. Just tell him, the only thing that'll happen is he might grow a couple inches overnight. And it was like this, ha. Turns out that doesn't fucking harm
And
you.
she was like, and FYI, since he's 18 and he's of this age, and we've been seeing a lot of this lately, make sure he doesn't ejaculate into a syringe and then eject it into his fucking arm.
It was just a PSA. She's like, yeah, he'll be fine. But you know what? I do want to just let him know, don't inject your own semen.
We've been seeing a lot of this lately.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it says you don't put them in your mouth, the Polaroids, because it has a alkali in it, which helps develop the thing, and it'll burn the fuck out of your mouth. Hold on.
The developers for photos are like very carcinogenic too. Like a lot of people who worked in like film developing facilities got like very severe forms of cancer.
Ouchie.
Okay, did we get the answer? Not the answer, but did we get an explanation as to why this guy was doing that?
Yeah, he was trying to fix his back.
Oh, it was for
Yeah.
his back pain. Oh, sorry, I thought his back pain was a
he was like,
result
man, my
of...
back. He was going, fuck, my back hurts.
I don't believe
I'm
that.
gonna
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick some semen in me.
Do we get background on the
you know,
guy?
I
Do we
bet-
have background on like what like?
No, you don't get any of that.
You
shit.
just-
What, you want to see a picture and judge him by the way he looks?
No,
Taylor,
I
or
just want to
what?
I want to know more about him. I want to know
Like, was he an accountant or was he
has he
A
been
serial killer.
Like, has he been to school? Has he is he socially isolated? Like, what are the conditions that led to this person like doing this to themselves.
Here's the thing, Taylor.
And never bouncing this idea off of somebody
you're,
else.
You're not going to get any of that shit with a case study.
Well, I want
No,
I want a 10-part podcast.
This
Florida,
is what-
Florida
this is-
man, if you're out there,
This is
reach
what
out.
makes this exciting. Is it just leaves it to your own imagination. You can think of anything. You know, you can just imagine this guy could be anyone.
This should be CBC Uncovers
Next
Uncovers next
yeah.
season. I want to know.
Brainwashed was great, but let's find
Yeah.
out about the semen injector.
Yeah, I want to know who this man is.
I do too.
I do love it. I love that fucking story though. Whether he was lying, or not. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't lying. Like there's some ding dongs out there, you know? And like there's that kind of thing. Like have you ever thought, no, I'm not saying that I believe this or have like truly thought this, but have you ever thought, like, have you ever come and then gone, I wonder if that would be good for my skin? You know what I mean? Like if you get like I wonder if that would be good for my complexion if I just every day I take a teaspoon of my cum and I just rub it into my what's this called? Your T
Dude,
area?
That's true.
T-zone.
That's true.
T-zone?
That's
That's
why
really
they.
smart.
That's why they call it a facial. It's good. It's good
Yeah.
for you.
That was
Well,
Oh.
folks, this has been really fun, and we're so glad that you joined us this week. And listen, we're doing this
Really?
silly.
That's how we're.
That's the
ending
cold.
this?
That's the cold open.
We're doing this, yeah. We're doing this shit every fucking week. And hey, listen, folks, if you're listening at home and you haven't tried it yet, you can listen. You can
I
still
thought you were gonna
listen.
say a facial.
You can still listen on YouTube, but with your eyes closed, you can listen to it, or you could have your eyes open and listen to it with your eyes.